What is up, everyone? It is DJ Martini Midwest Reviews coming at you with another video from my channel. Today I have a really good one and slash tutorial on these Koss Pro-4AA, I will call them. It's two A's. It's a stereo pair headphones from the 1970s. Now you're wondering, where are you going with this? Well, if you like retro items and you have some retro items at home and you want to plug in a quarter jack item from the 70s, this would be your ticket to go. Now, I do kind of just want to point out that the older headphones sound better than the newer headphones, but we're going to get into that in this video. So thank you so much for tuning in. It's DJ Martini Midwest Reviews. If you've never tuned into my channel, just know I like to do reviews. I like to do tutorials. I like to just help. I like to do the research for you so you don't have to. Give it to you all as easy as possible, and then leave some links in case you're interested in some of these products. So thank you so much for tuning in today. If this is helpful at all or interesting, give me a like or subscribe, and let's get into the video. So if you buy a brand new pair of these headphones, I'm gonna have to go into a little bit of history for you, that just to know that the Koss Pro-4AA stereo headphones, and it looks like a retro box, but it's actually a new box. These were actually redistributed probably in the early 90s. Amazon started selling these in 2003, but they basically remake these headphones that were popular in the 1970s, and they were very, very popular. They were everywhere. I'm going to kind of show some pictures here and just show you that these headphones were in every ad, every new movie that was coming out. Everybody had a pair of these headphones from probably 1970 to 1980 if you wanted a good pair of headphones. Now, the founder of the company is John C. Koss, with an engineer named Martin Lang Jr. And basically these two guys really had a lot to do with coming up with the first pair of headphones. And they created these Koss Pro-4AAs. They were like the first modular style headphones that you could put on your head, and they were hi-fi stereo back in the day. Now, that's just a little history lesson, but these are 50-year-old headphones, and I really think that the newer headphones that they're producing now are a little bit different than the older ones that they were producing in the 70s. I happened to get my hands on a late model 70s pair, and I bought a brand new pair, like if you were to just go to Amazon today and buy a pair for $59. So I wanted to compare the brand new ones that you get to the older ones that I was able to find, and I had to buy two pairs because one pair I bought and it wasn't working right, so I ended up refurbishing those and kind of making them my own. And I also have a pair that I left original, but I did have to do some work on it because at the bend, one of the wires was, faulty and actually got some moisture in it and was all green and messed up, so I had to go in and replace some wire. So I did have to definitely do some refurbishing on an old pair. So if you buy a pair from eBay, let me tell you what you're gonna get really quick is you're gonna get a disgusting pair of headphones that is completely messed up and that you might have to do some refurbishing. Every pair, unless you find like a pair that is vintage, mint condition or something, you're definitely gonna have to do some work on them. Let me just show you what the pads are gonna come in looking like. This is a pad. They're usually disgusting with nasty ear drool all over them. They look horrible. And this is a pad, and these pads are absolutely worthless when they come into you like this. And this is how most of them are gonna come. I bought two used pairs, and they both came in looking like this, and I threw one pair away because they were absolutely gross. But I wanted to keep one pair just to show you what they're going to look like. And these were actually, and I can tell I know that they were the older pair is because they were filled with silicone. And I cut one of these open on this one, and I taped it back up, but it has silicone inside of it. And the newer ones actually have like cotton stuffed in them. So I definitely know that these are an older pair. I can't give you exact dates, but I do know that they are older. In the inside of the pads is this like cheese grater material that is almost like steel mesh. Now, on a newer pair, they're actually going to more of a material like this. You can kind of see that, which is more like a lawn chair. I want to say the old strap lawn chair material, and that's what is in there. But on top of this is a piece of foam that will completely deteriorate over time, turns into little black chunks, and then they just make the inside of those headphones a mess. It was a little bit of work to get these clean, to get them not smelling like they've been in a bar for 20 years, at least one of the pairs that I got. They are built a little bit different as well. So let's go ahead and just talk about the brand new pair that I just bought. So if you go to Amazon and pay $59 for one of these, let's talk about these. So going to kind of compare the old ones to the new ones. Now, this, I'm going to show you this real quick. This is what the pads look like on a brand new pair. This is a, like, not a vinyl material. I don't know what this is, but it's kind of a different material, and this has like a cotton stuffed in it. And then you can see that little protector there. That's, like I said, a lawn chair, but there's that foam right there. You can see that foam really nice. That foam over time with the sweat from your ears because of these pads, that is going to completely deteriorate and just fall into chunks, and you're going to have little black things all over your ears, and it's going to be not very, very cool. So not the best choice back in the 70s, but like I said, they were the first ones to do it, so they had to kind of mess with that. So that's what the pads will look like. And this is an older pair, so I'm going to put that back down. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get a different pair of pads. Now, this is a pair of pads that were probably about $15. I also have a pair of pads that I bought for like $8, and they are 100% better no matter which one you buy than the original pads. So not only are they going to make these more comfortable on your head, but they are going to make them sound a little bit better, honestly. So check those out. I will leave some links for those, but this is a must. It's absolutely, pads will make these bearable. These weigh a lot. These are about 1 pound and like 3 ounces. So these are very, very heavy headphones. They're very cumbersome, but they're built well. This is not a volume. This is a like bolt that you can take off and put a microphone on it. So that if you're interested in doing that, you can do that. But this is all metal here. They're nicely milled and they look good. They have a little, this is all plastic, but this top part is rubber. This is a rubber piece that is very, very hard, and you could definitely use it to like mash things with or whatever you want. Very, very strong. And then there is some weird kind of foam in here. This is not your normal foam. It does have, it is soft, but it definitely is different. And that's about it. There's nothing more to talk about. These are earmuffs, basically, in today's standards. There's no buttons, there's no volumes, there's no nothing. You have the cord here, which you do have a very long 8-foot cord. This is even longer than the 8-foot in my opinion. I think I measured it and it was like 10 foot, and then it can stretch like an extra 2 foot. So this is a very, very long cord. Kind of reminds me of the rotary phones back in the day. I guess if you're young, you don't understand that, but yes, this is the cords we have. I do like these in a DJ cord. As a DJ, I wish they would bring more of these cords back, actually, because they just work. They stretch, they're super long. You don't have to worry about what you're doing because you're not worried about that short cord pulling out, because you just stretch for days. So they're very, very nice. Like I said, probably, it says 8 foot. I swear it's 10 foot measured, and it will stretch another 2 foot if you need to. So very, very cool there. But other than that, that's all I need to talk about. It's a brand new pair. So if you can see that it says the right side there, nice logos, left side, your cable. You can see the pads on these, nice. You don't see that speaker in there, but these are very plush and feel very, very, very nice. All right, so let's show you a vintage pair. These I know are from at least the late 70s, early 80s, because they look different. They don't have that plastic piece here. They actually have a metal piece right here. They're like a different color actually than these. These are like darker, and these are like, you can just tell that they look different. And these honestly feel a little bit lighter, just a little bit lighter. So I could just tell that these are very, and also when I took these apart, the speakers are ginormous. This is a speaker inside of one of these. This is a bad speaker, but completely modular. I could disconnect them. I could take screws out and take the speakers out, and it was totally different. These are the other pads. These aren't as plush as the other ones that I just showed you, but these are still good. These, I think these were like under $10, so I'll leave some links for these as well, but still make these feel comfortable. You can see that these are broken in. They don't completely turn, but they will turn out like this, and a little bit in like that. You got your cable. You still have your rubber bumper piece, but you can this one is smooth, and the other one had that like kind of texture, but this one had like a smooth top. So I can definitely tell that these are old. Also, this looks a little bit different, but it still comes off. You can still take that off, put that back on, but it's not a volume. It's just for if you wanted to put a microphone on these. And of course the cord is stretched out because this has been used, but this is probably maybe 40 years old. So absolutely, they are different than the new ones, so you can just tell. I also have these, like I said, because I bought a pair and one ended up not working, and I had to kind of really mess with them. But you can see that these are what the new pads will look like. They do have a different, it's like a D shape, kind of a D shape instead of an oval, kind of a D shape on the pads, so they're a little bit different than normal pads. These pads are the original pads that come with these. They don't feel good. They're hot. They don't feel right. Over time, they're gonna fall apart, and that foam piece that you see in there is just gonna turn to dust and be all over you. So recommend keeping these pads. Upgrade your pads. It'll do better. You can also see that these plastic pieces are coming off over time. And like I said, the cord's still holding up. That cord's gonna last forever. These are definitely different. So these are probably from maybe the 90s. These are from the 2000s. And I wanna say these are probably from the early 70s, you know, beginning of 80s, because just the way that they're built different. On this pair that I have the original pads on, because I actually like them closer to my head, because I put different drivers in this. Since I had a pair that was broken, I took them apart, and that's how I learned how these ones weren't modular. They actually have rivets in the speakers, so I really had a lot of work to drill those out and put different speakers in here. I also put a 3.5mm jack on these. I put some cheap, inexpensive Panasonic $20 headphone drivers in these, and you know, they don't sound great, but they're okay, and they're really simple to use if I want to use them for something really quick. So just something that was a little project and fun to do, and to get into them too, so that way I could bring it all to you. All right, so two things that you're going to want to look into if you do get a pair of these headphones is you're going to want to get a 3.5mm jack extension or adapter. But these adapters, even if you get really nice ones, whatever you get, they don't work very good with this. You're going to have some connection issues if you move the cord around a little bit. Might get some crackle and pops, or you know, maybe even a disconnect. But they just don't work very good no matter what you get, and I tried a bunch of different ones, and no matter what I did, it just doesn't fit perfectly on these. So I just want to let you know that they will work, but I do have some issues with them. Let's get into some pros and cons. Let's just get into it. So we went over the specs. You do know that you have to have amplification for these for sure. So these are 250 ohm speakers that are in these, and amplification is needed. They will work on your tablet, iPhone, Android phone, but you're just not going to get the volume out of them that you would if you had a little dedicated amplifier or headphone amp. So you definitely need some amplification to get some good sound out of them. Let's talk about sound. You know, that's going to be a positive to negative to everyone. So on a brand new pair, and just like a lot of people reviewed on a brand new pair, they don't sound very good. They are very, very flat. They're mid-range, their treble, and their bass is pretty much all equal in a brand new pair. The soundstage, if you use the original pads, the soundstage is non-existent, because they're literally like right on your ears, and they just don't sound right, in my opinion. Especially if you're using your phone, or if you're using something other than what they were used for, which is, you know, you need to use them with amplification, and you know, you might want to use some old technology to use them with. So they don't sound very good. Now I do notice that on a brand new pair, the bass was much more than an old pair. On an old pair, the mid-range is fantastic actually. Maybe that's because that's 40 years of break-in time, but the mid-range is way high. There's a little bit of treble, and then there's some bass tones, but the bass is really lacking on an old pair. But the mid-range, listening to live music, listening to symphony music, listening to, you know, classical music, listening acoustic music, fantastic. I was actually really surprised. I did plug it into a record player and an old amplifier that I have, a tube amp, and it sounded really good. So I was very surprised that they could. But that was on an old pair. Once again, that was on an old pair. So I really think that if you can find an early pair from the 1970s, 80s, then that's your ticket. I don't know if it's the break-in time or what, or maybe they're putting different drivers in or making the drivers a little bit different. But I did notice a really big difference from the old pair to the new pair. So in my opinion, if you can find an old pair, do an old pair, refurbish it, clean it, do whatever you gotta do, and you'll enjoy it a little bit better than a new pair. Anything above 2003, which is when they started making these and put them back on Amazon, they don't sound as good. Like I said, the new pair was absolutely flat, and I didn't really enjoy these at all until I put some pads on them, and then they were acceptable at best. They're not great, they're still flat. I did notice, like I said, if you listen to them with your iPhone or iPad or something like that with the adapter, then they sounded okay because they had more bass than the older pair. And so most new music has more bass. And so the tones sounded better and things like that, but they were just flat. They're absolutely flat. So maybe they need a lot of break-in time. I don't know, but hopefully that mid-range comes out a little bit more, a little bit of treble, but really they just didn't really sound good. So they sounded better with the pads, and that even added some sound stage in my opinion, which they didn't absolutely have at all with the other pads. But just something to point out there, that I really think if you can find an actual vintage old pair, they sounded a lot better. I really liked, and like I said, this is my opinion, I really liked the sound that I got out of the vintage pair with the pads on it. It sounded, the mid-range was fantastic, and I really tested that. I took the old pads and I put them on with the new ones, and I put those pads on the old ones, and then I put the new pads on with the thicker in there, and there was a really big sound difference. So you will notice a sound difference if you put different pads on them. So all right, so the Koss headphones Pro-4AA, let's go into the negatives a little bit. And the negatives can be subjective to everybody, because everybody's going to think that these headphones are just negative in themselves because they're so old. They're 50 plus years old, but they are uncomfortable. They're super heavy. You have to wear them kind of on the back of your head. I will demonstrate here with my brand new pair. These are brand new, so they're kind of tight. They're not stretched out at all. But I have to wear them on the very back of my head. I think they look cool. They look vintage. They look ginormous. They look like you're in a radio studio or something back in the day. They do have some nice noise isolation because they're pretty tight. These pads, like I said, do help with that. At volume, you're definitely not going to hear your surroundings, but if you have them off and no volume, then you will hear some stuff. They do a decent job with the natural noise isolation. You will need amplification, so that could be a negative for you because you'll have to buy extra accessories, especially something with a quarter jack, so you can just plug it right in with no adapter, because they don't work very good with adapters. Some people are just going to trash these, so I'll just put that on opinion that some people aren't going to like these. I can actually appreciate them. I have an old receiver, I have an old tube amp, I have an old, some old equipment, some old records. Put my record player on with some oldies, and I can really enjoy on the older pair what they sound like. The mid-range is there, live acoustic music, live band music sounds really fun and good, and there's actually a sound stage there. It sounds good with those pads. But those are big things that you need to do to improve these a little bit, is definitely the pads, because you'll be able to enjoy them for at least an hour instead of a half hour before you're Ears start sweating to death. The pads do make a giant improvement on these, so I definitely want to tell you, do some new pads and you'll definitely enjoy these headphones a lot more. I went over everything else. You can still pick these up today for $59 or less. If you do pick up some from eBay, just know that you're going to have to do some deep decon and cleaning and maybe even some refurbishing, because maybe, you know, at those joints and things like that, wires are bent and you might have a speaker that doesn't work, and you know, so it is some work. They do make replacement drivers, not this particular model you're going to have a hard time finding, but you can buy like newer ones that you can put in there that can easily be soldered in. So it is possible. It's a fun little project too if you want to, and then you have a retro pair of headphones that you can hang at your house and use occasionally if you want. And that's all these are, really. It's really a luxury. You're going to use them occasionally, check them out, and enjoy kind of that vintage sound that you can get out of them. That's all I wanted to tell you today. Sorry we got a little deep, a little long, but I just want to get all this information out to you and just bring you my thoughts. So thank you so much. If this is helpful or you enjoyed it at all, please like, subscribe, or share. Other than that, I'm going to let you all out of here, and just stay tuned for my next video. I got all kinds of more stuff coming at you. Talk to you later.